Hello everyone, this is Drew Douglas in for themeforest.net, and today we're going to go over WordPress for Designers Day 5. And you'll remember in Day 4 that we went over the basic WordPress loop and learned how to pull out some of our basic posts from our WordPress database and display it in just a real simple form. And today we're still not really worried about the design and the aesthetics of our theme, but we are going to learn how to break up our files and again use some more template tags we haven't seen, and we're going to actually break up our files into different theme files so we can start to add a lot more flexibility to our theme and some more progress with our theme. I'm kind of battling a little bit of a cold right now, so I'm going to try to remember to speak up and as clearly as I can, but I just want to apologize if I'm not as enthusiastic or my voice isn't as loud as usual. So that said, let's go ahead and open up Firefox as always, and gotta leave this video for a second, and we'll go to our local host. You should be familiar with the address by now. It's localhost :8888 WordPress, and need to go ahead and activate our old theme real quick. This is our test theme I was doing earlier today. So I will go down to themes and activate our theme we were working with earlier. Okay, so this is what we left off with last time. Pretty basic, but we used the loop to pull out these three posts. We styled the, if you call that style, we styled the posts a little bit. Added some real basic footer template tags to display our footer, and of course our blog title and our description. So what we're going to do today is we're going to split a lot of our page up into different files. So we're going to split our title and our description and any of our heading information into a header file, and our main content will stay in index for now, and we're going to add a sidebar. So we're going to get into some pretty cool stuff today. So let's go ahead and open up Coda or whatever your text editor of choice happens to be, and you'll see that we're working locally, and I have our WordPress Forest theme folder open and ready. So far in your theme folder you should have index.php, screenshot.jpg, and style.css. So we will open up index.php, and all we have is basic information in here, but if we keep going and putting all of our PHP and all of our file information into just our index page, it's going to get pretty large, and we can really organize this better in the correct way using theme template files that we discussed early on in this series. So the first thing we want to do is we want to just be able to display all of our header information right here, all of our basic heading information in a separate file so we can easily edit it. Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is create a new file. So I can just right click and create a new file, header.php. Okay, let's open up our header.php. Now all we really have to do here is copy what information we already have for our header and go ahead and insert it into our header.php file instead. So we will take from end header all the way up. We will copy that. We'll go back over to header.php and we will paste it. We'll save that. And we're going to get rid of all of that from our index file. Okay, so now we have all of our information in our header.php file, but we need to be able to tell WordPress to grab that header file before it does anything else with this content. So how do we do that? Well, it's actually really simple, and we'll just type php get header. And that does exactly what you think it will do. It grabs our header.php file and inserts it into our index page. So all of our information here, our doc type and our title tags and any logo and info, stuff like that, will be grabbed and inserted into our index page now. So let's see if that worked. We'll refresh. And okay, nothing has changed. You might have seen that the CSS changed a little bit, and I edited the CSS just a little bit to get rid of those corners we had. But nothing here is changed. Our header is still showing up just as we would expect it to, but now it's in a separate file. And again, the page looks a little bit different because I edited a little bit of the CSS, but like I mentioned, we're not going to worry about the CSS. I just wanted to make room for the sidebar. So using getHeader, we can include our header.php file. Now what some blogs include in their header would be your page navigation. And even though we're not really worried about the aesthetics of our theme yet, it would be nice if we could at least list our pages in kind of a horizontal navigation type way here at the top before any of our posts. So how do we display and link to our different pages in WordPress? Well, WordPress makes it pretty easy for us to do so. In our header.php file, under our div class of tagline, we're going to want to display our navigation. So first, we'll do an unordered list with an ID of nav. Okay, since that's done, now we're going to type in PHP WP for WordPress list pages. And notice the underscores in between each word. Of course, it's a custom WordPress function. And we'll just close our PHP tag like so, and we'll go ahead and save that and take a look at that. Okay, well, it's kind of doing what we want, but this doesn't pages. There's no real need for that to be there. How do we get rid of this? How do we just display the links how we would like them to show up, which is just horizontally across this page? Well, you'll remember when we went over WordPress template tags that most WordPress template tags can take different arguments. So whenever we have a question about a function or a template tag in WordPress, it's a good idea to just check out the codex. I just type in codex WordPress and WP list pages. And let's see what it brings up. Okay, I've obviously been here before. And we can go here and we can see examples and default usage with all kinds of different arguments that we can give it. So if we scroll down a little bit, we can see one of the first examples is showing us how to just display our navigation with no heading, without the title that says pages in it. And we use that using the title list. So if we scroll up, we can see that that's one of the options. So what we're going to do is go back to Coda, and in between WP list pages, we'll do some quotations, and we'll title li, underscore li equals, and we will just leave it blank, and we'll save that. And there we go. We can, very ugly navigation, but it works, and it's doing what we want it to do. And if you're wondering about these separate pages, I obviously went in and added some. But now would probably be a good time, just in case, for those who haven't ever worked with WordPress before, how to add a page quickly. So if you wanted to add some pages to fill in to be able to display, you would just click on the pages here on the sidebar in the WordPress admin panel. Click Add New, and you could add your page title here, and any static page information in HTML that you wanted. So if I go to Edit, you'll see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages already set up, and that was just so we could display our navigation. So if you want to go ahead and set up some pages, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we learned how to split our header file into a completely separate file in our theme, and how to, in our index page, call our header. And that's pretty cool because we're going to use that technique for almost, for every single theme file we do from now on. So we're learning how to split things up and how to organize them to allow more flexibility. One other thing I want to note before moving on is whenever you get some time, if we go to the back to WordPress admin panel here, you notice that WordPress 2.7.1 has been released, and you can click Please Update Now, and you should be able to update just automatically, I believe. But for now, we'll just skip that and carry on with the screencast. Okay, our blog is starting to kind of come together, but we're obviously missing a sidebar, and we could have some more information displayed here, like our archives. And notice I said that properly today for any of you that caught me on the archives last time. But we could display our archives or our categories or even our pages or links and whatever information we wanted. So now let's move on and let's make a sidebar. And it's actually not as tricky as we would think. It's kind of the same process as last time, except this time we don't have any content to copy and paste. We're just going to create our sidebar from scratch, like we've been doing this whole time. So we'll stay on our index.php, but we'll create a new file, call it sidebar.php. We'll go ahead and open up sidebar.php. Okay. The first thing we want to do is probably just go ahead and give it a div ID of sidebar, whatever you want to name it, but give it div ID of sidebar, and just a basic unordered list, as WordPress is pretty much handles everything in unordered lists very well, as you've probably noticed that a lot of things are output in list format, so we can nest lists and do a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, we'll set up a basic unordered list, and now what we're going to do is we're going to widgetize our sidebar. We're going to get it ready for any widgets that the theme may have. And you've probably heard this when dealing with WordPress before, but we're not going to really worry about widgets too much today or how to use them, but we're going to worry more about getting our sidebar set up for them. We'll cover them more in depth a little bit later in the screencast, but widgets are basically are different packages that people can activate, and you'll see we have no sidebars defined if you click on widgets, but widgets would allow somebody just to come in here and click and add their calendar and add their archives or their categories through a user interface instead of having to get into any of the code and add or remove code from the theme files. So it's really easy just to get our theme set up for that. So let's go ahead and start off with PHP. Just give ourselves a comment. So let's widgetize up in here. Okay, and we'll close our PHP. Inside our PHP tags, we need a conditional statement of if the function does not exist, which is why there's an exclamation mark before the function exists, which tells PHP if the function does not exist. Oops. Sorry about that. If the function dynamic sidebar does not exist, and I got this all messed up now. Okay, there we go. If the function dynamic sidebar does not exist, or if dynamic sidebar is not present, close our if statement, and we'll give it a colon. And what we're saying here is if the function dynamic sidebar, which is a widget, if the theme has any widgets in the sidebar, if that function doesn't exist, then go ahead and display the data below. So basically, if they haven't activated any of their widgets, we need to have some code in between these PHP tags to display. And we will end our if statement there. So if there are no widgets, what will we display here? Well, one thing that would be pretty helpful in our sidebar would be a search form. And we're lucky that WordPress already kind of handles our search for us. It's not the greatest search in the world, but it definitely works, and you can always incorporate a Google search into it later. But let's go ahead and worry about how do we get a search form to show up in our sidebar now that we have our widgetized sidebar semi-ready. So well, first we'll add a list since we're inside an unordered list. And again, we're going to use some PHP. And then we will say PHP get search form. Simple as that. We'll go ahead and save that. And we'll navigate back to our theme. Oh, and obviously it's not showing up yet because we haven't told our index.php file to grab the sidebar. So obviously we need to do that. And so we will do php get sidebar. And now we will save that. So now we have our sidebar file, and on our index we're calling the sidebar. So let's see what we got. Refresh. And you can see our search for and our basic default search form is showing up. And good enough for now. And we got that to show up with, you know, one line of PHP in a list. So it's pretty cool how WordPress can handle our search form for us like that with one line. So now that we have our search form, what are a few other things while we're on the sidebar that we could display, and how do we display them? Well, you know, if we wanted to, we could list our pages again. You know, is kind of a user-friendly navigation sidebar in case they somehow missed our pages up top. But you know, we could PHP. You should remember from doing this just a second ago how we list our pages. WP list pages. But this time, let's give it the title, list or argument. But let's give it some h3 tags, you know, and call it pages so they know what they're looking at. And we'll save that. Okay, and you can see our pages have showed up, and WordPress automatically formats an unordered list when listing our pages like so, which is why I didn't wrap it in another unordered list or any list tags. So that would be our pages. How about let's move on. Let's do the word I can't pronounce. Let's do archives. I don't care. I like archives better. I've always said it that way. I know it's wrong, but I like the archives. Okay. And you'll notice the list tag since we're already inside a unit list, and we'll nest another unit list here for our archives. And it's simply a matter of just another PHP function. We'll do PHP. And then we will do WP for WordPress, get archives. Now, if we don't pass it in any parameters, we'll go ahead and see what that does. We'll refresh. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and show all of our archives, I believe by default. So let's give it a parameter, and let's say type of monthly, which will just give us a monthly list of our archives. You know, once time passes, so we don't have all kinds of them showing up. So getting the archives to show up is just a matter of you know, giving some h3 tags in the sidebar, an unordered list, and then inside that unordered list a PHP statement of WP get archives. And if we inspect it here with Firebug, we'll see that WordPress automatically has wrapped any archives we have into list tags for us. I think we have time for yeah. Let's do one more. Let's keep going with our sidebar here. We're feeling sassy, aren't we? Let's do some PHP, and this time let's list our categories. That's a good one to list to give people a chance to navigate through the different categories that we'll be setting up later for our posts. We'll go ahead and list our categories. So WP list categories will be our function. And inside of that, we'll go ahead and we'll just leave it like that. We won't pass it any arguments yet. Okay, and you can see categories is uncategorized. Let's pretty that up a little bit and give it the title list, of H3 categories. Save that and refresh. Okay, and that's, at least it matches the rest of our sidebar for now. Now, uncategorized is our only category right now, so let's go ahead and change that. You should already have some default posts set up, and maybe, you were smarter than me and you already added some categories for each post, but go into edit post, and, when we heard the news about patty mayonnaise, we'll edit this one to a new category. We'll uncheck uncategorized, and we'll click add new category. And, breaking news we'll go ahead and add. We'll add this post now under breaking news and update post. And just so we have, a couple more showing up, let's edit my new AOL tattoo, which is awesome, by the way. And we'll get that off of uncategorized. And, the category of too much info. And we'll add it to the category of too much information. Okay, so we go back. Okay, now we have some, some categories we can explore. So let's go over a couple of things we learned today. We learned that we can split up our theme files as we looked at in the beginning of the series, and we can split them up to organize our theme and allow more flexibility. And then in our index page, which is the only main file we're working with so far, we can call get header, get sidebar, and we can start to see how we can pull in these different pages, the content from these different files, and include them in whatever pages we want. And if you've ever, if you're a PHP person, the get sidebar and get header functions are a lot like PHP includes. So if you've ever, worked with PHP includes, or you're checking out Jeff's awesome diving into PHP series that's going on right now as well, that might look or seem a little bit like a familiar topic. So I think that's where we're going to stop today. There's one more thing I want to go over. Hopefully don't go too far over time here, but I'm sure some of you have been curious to see what happens when we actually click on a post, because that's no longer our index.php page. Well, you'll see it still works, and that is what we'll talk about in just a little bit, and coming up in the series is how does it know what theme file to use to format this individual post, an article for us, and that's known as the WordPress template hierarchy. So right now you should be able to tell that it's defaulting to the index.php type layout and structure, because we don't have a single page yet for our individual articles set up. But I just wanted to point that out in case you guys were wondering, what happens if I click on one of these posts, since all we have is an index.php page, how does it know how to format this? Well, that's known as the WordPress template hierarchy, and just know that it's defaulting right now to our index page, and we are going to cover that very shortly. So if you're looking for some extra homework tonight, you can try to get the footer in a separate file by itself and get it showing up. And we will pick up where we left off on day 6 and continue our WordPress for designers. If you guys are enjoying this, as always, I really urge you to subscribe to the RSS feed to stay up to date. That would help us out immensely. And I will see you next time. Have a great day.